I am not sure if this will work. So take that for what you will. It's just a throw it at the wall, see what sticks, because you never know. Maybe it might mean something. Um, Being able to effectively monetize not just social media, but also streaming services is going to become a massively important step, which they already kind of are. But I feel like if you ever look at Netflix or other, let's say it was, Amazon Prime or Hulu or any of these other services here in America, then you end up knowing that, well, there isn't, you know what I mean? Any real new, I mean, there's live, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same and people don't treat it the same. And I feel like it needs to become a series. It needs to be advertised like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I want the news, category, and I'd like to break it down to county, state, even geopolitically, maybe it's tech news, whatever it is, right? Because that would help out a lot. A lot of people would be able to report, and then we can break it down into much smaller areas and have reporters and journalists and more investigators, right, be able to do their job very well, but have the people present it. See, podcasts are wonderful, right? But like it's because there's a personality there presenting it, and we all know about that from back in the day, and that helps produce eyes on, right? And then you can always get sponsors and more. And yeah, okay, so it's weird. Oh, I'm an anchor. Give it the hell up. Give it the hell up. Could you please? Like that's how the majority of social media happens to function now, right? So it's like you kind of need to get that going. And also it's another change, um, wherein the bigger news networks need to combine with streaming services, right? Like these are huge networks. We're talking networks. And the best way for them to survive is to effectively merge into streaming services and server kind of styles of services, right? It's going to most likely reduce the vast majority of their cost and allow for them to be able to have the ability to more easily stream, right? And we are able to shrink down teams to various people that are able to cover various uh, news and information going on, hopefully more effectively. That'd be wonderful. I don't know if that'll work. Of course, you need a lot of people to do all of that. That's how that works. There's always teams running. There's editors, but it's like, oh no, if you need to go somewhere over here, you need to do this. Like all of that's got to be there, right? So it's like you kind of have to get that kind of instead of it spread out over multiple places. It's like everybody's going to be going to one singular department for the entirety of all of everyone. You know what I mean? It's just kind of rough to hear, but it's like this is a lot of remote work and on-site work, right? Which then turns it into, well, it could be easier for people to bounce the necessary paperwork and talks between each other more quickly and hopefully with less overhead cost, right? We're talking about a smaller building now. We're talking about, people that are able to do it more quickly and resolve what they need to. Hopefully, I mean, it's a real hope, man. I don't know what their structures are like. I don't know how they run their business. I don't know any of that. I don't. So as a result, it's like it could do that. It could also cause a degree of disorganization, and so that's one of the logistic and managerial types of positions for scheduling and making sure that there's the correct software and people there to run operations, which is logistics and operations management. Standard stuff. But that also means they're always producing something to be put up on a streaming service while also having live, right? I know this sounds facetious to say, but it's like a lot of people like myself that are millennials, Gen Zers, Gen Xers, even as well, and the Gen A, which I know seems kind of odd. Like, why would you bring in Gen A? I don't know, man. I just randomly would put the news on. You know what I mean? Like, I would randomly just do that, and that's still eyes on. You know what I mean? That's still money. They'll pay you money for that? So, eh, money is money, man, right? It's just that it's also presenting news articles to people has to happen. And that's the roughest part, if we're gonna be honest. Because it's like there's a lot of things that are like little oddball, whatever that is, and people love that visually, right? Instead of like it turning into more of an AI, then it would become more of a presenter, of course, but teams that like to cover that kind of thing. And it reminds me back in the day with SourceFed. It's like there would be small little things that they would cover throughout the day, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it was. There's, multiple in a day, right? And that's a great way to do it. Or having a live one for some of the more pressing, immediate, any of that sort of stuff. And segments, just like CNN does too, for ultimately continuing to keep eyes on sort of stuff. Um, it's just then it has to be consolidated, and that's sort of rough because we're talking about a bunch of people that want to be separated, and they have to form kind of like a SAG-AFTRA or whatever it is, union that they then all say together, we're willing to put our stuff on all of these sites, and then we get these types of um, money, basically, for us being there, kind of like royalties, right? Like we were on that, they watched us for this long, you're agreeing to pay us to present this to you, but also we're promising at least this amount, and if it goes below, then you can, of course, remove that or whatever, right? As the typical contract, I feel like somehow, some way seems to always boil down to, you know. Um, then there's the other side of it where it's like, right, but they don't like to pay a lot of people for any amount of time on screen in streaming services, which is, I don't know if that's changed. I think that might have changed. If that changed, that's good. But if it didn't, that's a fucking shit show. That's not okay, right? And it's like, no, I am a TV network. I am so big and powerful. And it's like, yeah, well, streaming services are big and powerful now too. Okay, like, can we please end that argument? I don't want to do that argument anymore. All right. Like, you're both fucking big and powerful. You can both ultimately get together and make this happen. And that would be the right way to go about it because it would ultimately allow for you to have multiple platforms and monetize multiple revenue streams to better solidify, um, you know, your news stations and your businesses. I mean, what does every business person really kind of say? Try and diversify. Any income revenue streams is better because if any one of them goes down a little bit, the other one might be able to prop up the others. Simple stuff, right? But the other side of it for me, because I'm a type of person that's like this with this personality, there should always be a certain percentage of our taxes that just go straight to fucking news people, that just pay them to just fucking cover what's going on. It bothers me that we don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, there should always be revenue. This is incredibly important. I don't know why it's not for everyone. I don't know why, like, we don't have that in our taxes and, like, as a just general expenditure for our citizens as a whole, because it would make no sense for them to be unable to get proper information. It's always a good thing to have. It makes it so they're more well informed and they're able to understand what's happening. They're less likely to be, uh, you know, changed well, let's put it this way, confused by any propaganda from outside sources that would be lying, or even inside sources that would be lying, kind of like Trump, right? And misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, and more is all pretty much the same word for a bunch of lies with fanciful language for a bunch of people that want to believe it anyways. And that's what that is. And so here's a bunch of taxes. Here's a bunch of, like, we all just pay into this thing because it's a needed thing for all of us to have. That's what my, like, real solution would be. But apparently, not so much would that be what we're doing, which bothers me. But maybe there's subsidies, maybe there's a way to reduce things, you know what I mean? Like, as a service to our country, you get this, whatever it is, right? And so on. But, the other side of it is, well, at least we might be able to, like, get ourselves into a situation where the networks and streaming services and more allow for this to be paid and paid appropriately, for the eyes on, which would be a good thing. My dog continues to try and attack my arm. You can't even hear it. Dang it, Phaser. Can you be a good boy? I am paying attention to you. I'm just letting you know, but still. Then of course the kitschy cool stuff. You form a type of parasocial relationship, although we can't call it that. Community. We call it community. And then here's a shirt, and here's a plushie, and here's a keychain, and here's a mug, and here's this, and here's that, and now we'll sell that. Here's a link. Do that. Buy it. And behold, which you already pretty much do all of that anyways. But it's like, yeah, now there's more avenues of approach for possibly selling more merchandise to your community, not products that are being very much offered to a parasocial relationship of a group of people that want to, be a part of something bigger than themselves, like a religious kind of cult type thing. But I digress because whatever, it's what it is. Everybody pretty much does it, and we all just sort of agree. And who doesn't want to be a part of a group to a degree? And just it's not, instead of hating on people, it's like, no, I like this thing though, and I don't care what the fuck you think. And or say, I do. Shut up over there. I don't care. Eh. It's just knowing about it and influencing you that way is a good thing, instead of, no, I shall change it to being that this isn't like that for this stuff. But it's like, no, it's basically the same thing. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's I'm not gonna fucking sugarcoat what I'm doing. Like, I know what's up. I've just gone through the process of asking myself the question, is it acceptable for me to enjoy this thing? And the answer is yeah to and or no, and maybe with the as all things seem to be for figuring out yourself, your life, your personality, and all the rest of that. for all the things that go on that are day-to-day shit, you know? You ask yourself your questions, and you figure it out. So there's that. So, this, that's my kinda, like, helping them maybe perhaps, but even then, it's like, yeah, except you're not really maybe doing as much on that side maybe as you might be able to. You know what I mean? Like traditional news, traditional this, traditional that is what it is, but it's also having a bunch of people like SourceFed formed a community for a reason. They blew up very quickly. There's a group of personality, there's behind the scenes. You say what you want about The Office, and Mindy Kaling and all the other writers. It's because you formed a bond with someone, and this separation is something that's there when it comes down to the seemingly more professional, except it's not really that professional. When you're doing really well for those numbers, there's that bond that's there for those kinds of people, which you already know. But of course, you got to do it online, which a lot of people, of course, are not into you like that. Do you understand that part? Like, you're not hitting that crowd. You're hitting a different crowd and demographic that doesn't like you like that. You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't feel this with you. Whatever it is. Like, I want to watch, I want to listen, whatever it is. Which is a whole other department. But basically, you gotta find the right anchors, right? You gotta get the right dynamic, right? And then you gotta be able to do it all the correct way, which means it's a little bit more casual, right? And then you have to have the serious, then you have to have all that other stuff. So it's effectively building up online the very same thing you have in your network. It's like there's that part. And then if you want to ultimately have anything covered when it comes down to articles that are not being covered really at all, which is hard. And people do consume that, by the way, because it's not all about just anchors. Damn it, Phaser. Jesus, ow. It's also about the fact that you need to be able to cleverly present that information in a quick manner in which people can consume it in these apps and streaming services and more, much more quickly, but also just more consistently, right? 'Cause you don't want it to just be all presented. There's just so much shit. It doesn't work. You need to be able to categorize it. You need to be able to do all that just like anything else. But it's mostly like if it reads it out to you, fine, whatever. You have audiobooks, you know how to do that. You have an AI, you know how to do that. You know how to put together some editing to make sure it's gonna look like it's something that you want to watch and look at and listen. Good, do it. Yeah, you gotta kind of turn and burn to a degree and see what sticks and starts effectively surviving, which is the evolutionary algorithm. You try a bunch of things, this seems to stick around, you build on top of, you make it more efficient, you slightly change and mutate some things, evolutionarily speaking, and ultimately it presents itself new or works better with the eyes on and the individual's perceptions of whatever it is that's there that they enjoy. Standard AI evolutionary algorithms. All right. That's my idea. Those are my ideas. You might be able to get away with some more on that for the union thing, and being able to like more easily spread money in between each other, right? Where you can effectively write it such that contractually you're obligated to make sure each other's businesses are able to stay afloat. But of course, there's exceptions and so on that will resultively make it such that they can be uh, something they go under or fail and so on, that kind of thing. All right. Bye.